actually has to do with your numbers theory. So if by your logic you say 1 times 1 equals 2, are you insinuating that 1 times 0 then equals 1?
Equals 1. Well, that's what we were saying with the identity principle, the identity property. It says that 1 times nothing equals nothing. Something, so now you have the laws of physics have to now adjust because something just disappeared. Conservation of energy, energy can't be created or destroyed. So if 1 times 0 equals 0, then what happened to the energy of the 1? Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawkins were talking about with the event horizon and the information going in and still being present, that conflict that was started? Well, that's because of the math. The principles in the math are not founded on truth. It's not founded on substance. The identity principle, anything times 0 is 0 and anything times 1 is 1. Where is that number? Where is that exemplified in nature or in universal phenomena? Is it? Do you see that?
So then, are you saying that 1 times 5 would be 6?
Yes. Well, what does it say in the associative and commutative thing?
So you're
if A and B
proposing-
are positive integers, it says if A and B are positive integers, A is to be added to itself as many times as is indicated by units in B.
So you're not proposing an audit, you're proposing like a
Well, I'm not the first one
reconstruction
to
of
say
the way
we
we
need to do
understand
this.
math.
You know what's interesting? In 1856, a man from Liverpool named Richard Dover Statter challenged the Dewey Decimal System and said that it was wrong and created an entirely new system to show how it can be brought into correction. So I'm not the first person to state this. It's a number of people did it, but look up Richard Dover Statter. Try and find him. You won't find him because he's been erased from history almost. But what is the thing called, honey?
It's called the decimal something.
Dewey Decimal System as a whole. The Dewey Decimal System as a whole. And you will see that we are headed to, the Titanic is headed to an iceberg over there with our numbers. If we don't make a change soon, we're going to crash as a species because our math needs to work in order for our science and our future to develop.
Sorry, one last question. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead. Go.
Do you think it's do you think that the reason that we have like economic crises, for example, is because we are not understanding our numbers correctly according to your theory?
Well, I think we have an economic problem because we are the only creatures in this universe that use currency. There are no other creatures that use currency in order to exist. Why is it that we chose this strange thing that isn't even real? Other creatures, they drink water, they eat fruit, they eat other animals. We exchange with currency, and our system of exchanging with currency is flawed because of greed. There's not like if 1 times 1 equals 2, we've got an equilibrium of balance. 1 times 1 equals 1, you've got loss. When 1 times 1 equals 3 or more, you're talking about over unity and supersymmetry. And that's how you get the universe to work for you. Instead of using just the solar voltaics off of it, you also use the piezoelectric effects of it. You use other things to make greater unity. But 1 times 1 equaling 1, when it could also equal a pound times a pound equaling a pound, when it could also equal $4 or $10 or $100. Does that make sense to you? Do you think the banks are abusing that? What's a quarter times a quarter? If I ask anybody in this room, what's a quarter times a quarter? That's 25 times 25. The computer will the calculator will tell you 6.25 cents. But we know 25 pence times 25 pence is 625 pence. That's 6 pounds and 25 pence, but the computer or the banks only have to give you 6 1/4 cents reference for it. Or let's say you put a dime times a dime. Go ahead, let me get this out. Say you take a dime times a dime. You put that in your calculator, it says 1 cent. 0.10 times 0.10 is 1 cent. But we know a dime times a dime is a whole dollar. But the banks gives us money based on that evaluation. Is that fair? And I might get shot about talking about this right now, but I've got a book coming out called Does a dollar times a dollar equal a dollar, or does a dollar times a dollar equal $2? And in the process, not only do I explain the death of the Platonic solids, but I also introduce the new Terrence wave conjugations that replace this Euclidean way of life and gives us a three-dimensional way of seeing the world. That's what I'm saying. Do you want to see the world in 2D or do you want to see it in 3D?
Thank you.